in the investigation into her illegal personal email server. The State Department finding an email from top aide Huma Abedin to the former Secretary of State, which outlines her concerns over hacking attempts made on the Westchester-based server. That email, however, was not turned over by Mrs. Clinton, despite her sworn statement that she returned all government-related emails to the State Department. Now, campaign aide Brian Fallon is claiming that she deleted the email before the request was made to turn it over. I want to bring in Fox senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, good to see you.
Good morning.
How important is this?
Well, this is a critical importance for a couple of reasons. The email is from Huma Abedin to Secretary Clinton and the Inner Circle, and it says, we have been hacked and we're going to go down for a little bit, meaning you're not going to be able to reach the Secretary using her server in Westchester County. That tells us a couple of things. That directly defies Mrs. Clinton's public statements made on numerous occasions that she never jeopardized national security secrets and that she was never hacked. This is proof to the opposite. It also, as you said in your intro, puts her in a lot of hot water with Judge Emmett Sullivan, who was appointed to the federal bench by her husband. Judge Sullivan suspected that Mrs. Clinton was not being forthcoming with all of the emails. He ordered her to do something that lawyers and judges know the significance of this phrase. When you say to a litigant, you will swear to me that you have done this, quote, under penalty of perjury, close quote. That is a code phrase for, I think you're lying to me. And if you lie to me once more, you will be charged with perjury. So he said to her, Judge Sullivan to Mrs. Clinton, you will certify under penalty of perjury that you have in fact surrendered all of your governmental emails back to the State Department.
Right.
This one was not among them. This one was not surrendered by her, even though she swore under penalty of perjury that she had surrendered.
How does she skate? How does she skate from this?
Okay, so we have a case built up by the FBI, which is truly overwhelming, just on the public record, Governor. Yeah. They obviously know a lot more things about her that they haven't revealed. Is it enough to indict? Absolutely. Is it enough to convict? Absolutely. The charge would be espionage, the failure to keep in a secure place state secrets entrusted to you, and a variety of other charges, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and now perjury. Who will make the decision whether or not this can be presented to a grand jury? The same person who last week said, we will fight terrorism with love, the same person who last week said, we will redact official FBI reports in order to make them appear less harmful to the now dead killer and create a false impression, the Attorney General of the United States. If she's willing to do those things to stay on the president's political paradigm, don't you think she's willing to say to her prosecutors, you're not going to a grand jury?
Yeah, but what about what Darrell Issa said this weekend, former Oversight Committee Chairman? Congressman Darrell Issa basically said that at this point only the voters can hold Hillary accountable because the White House will not hold her accountable.
I accept that, and there's a rationale for that, and if I might, here's the rationale for it. If the decision is formally made not to present this to a grand jury, you will see all kinds of things leaked by FBI agents who have had enough with the Department of Political Justice. I'll tell you one more that happened over the weekend. 75 of her calendar entries are suddenly missing. Where was she and who is she with? This is official federal government records that she and the State Department are required to preserve missing. Another potential felony.
Judge, I want you to play her lawyer and her advocate for a second.
Tough one.
I know, there's good money in it, though, Judge. Take the job.
Who knows about good money?
Yeah. So, but how do you defend her? What do you say?
Well, their defense will be that she was so busy in what she was doing, she didn't pay attention to the details, and she did everything in her power to keep the secrets that were reposed to her secret.
What about the lying, though, just the blatant, perjurous lying? How do you defend that?
I can't defend that. I can't even think of a defense to that.
Well, what about the defending of the foundation issues? I mean, we were talking earlier about Russia, about the Saudis, the Qataris, where business was in front of her at the State Department, and yet these entities gave money to the Clinton Foundation.
Anthony's correct. This is an entirely different investigation. She's being investigated by the two top teams in the FBI, national security and public corruption. I'll give you the worst of those instances. Frank Giustra, Giustra, Bill's good friend, Canadian, wants to buy a uranium mine in the United States. He's a Canadian, needs the permission of the Secretary of the Treasury of State. She gives him permission to do it. He sells 80% of it to a sovereign entity owned by the Kremlin. We don't know what he sold it for, but within several weeks of that sale, he and his partners made a contribution to the Clinton Foundation of $145 million.
A lot of money being made.
But the timing, Judge, she's running for president. You cannot, at this point, we're now in June of 2016. If charges are brought up, there's just no way, I think. It's too late.
You're right. The Justice Department will say we don't like to indict somebody within 90 days of an election when they are on the ballot in the election. We're not quite 90 days to November, but we're close.
But you said something I think that's very important, Judge. FBI agents who are good guys. These guys are sworn to do the right thing. A lot of them are going to come out and say something and perhaps even walk out and resign and say we're not going to be part of this.
I can't tell you how down in the dumps they were over those two comments the Attorney General made last week about fighting terrorism with love, and then about the redactions of the FBI report.
Wow.
And a lot of them will do something about it if they are big-footed by the AG. That is, if she does not let them. It's not just FBI agents. There are prosecutors in the Department of Justice working with these FBI agents, champing at the bit to present this information to a grand jury. And you can't present this overnight. It's not like one person goes to this grand jury and 15 minutes later she's indicted. This will take weeks of educating the grand jury of what she did and didn't do and should have done, and what's a criminal and what's not.
Well, it's pretty extraordinary that the President of the United States has endorsed Secretary Clinton, and she's under criminal investigation.
That put them down in the dumps as well. He really should not have done that. Tell me that that's not a conflict on his part.
Exactly.
Well,
He's got another conflict.
But I think that
5 of those top secret emails were sent to her by the President.
Yeah.
Isn't that
email.
A confidence statement that she's not getting indicted, though, Judge, that he would be willing to endorse her?
You could argue that it looks that way. So if FBI agents resign and leak on the eve of the election or the eve of the DNC, does President Obama have a Watergate-like Saturday Night Massacre on his hands, and something that's the last thing he wants in the final 6 months of his presidency?
I know we have to go to break, but why no special prosecutor here? Republicans always put a special prosecutor in place.
A special prosecutor would remove the conflict issue that President Obama and Loretta Lynch have.
All right, we'll leave it there. Judge, good to see you. Thanks so much, Judge Napolitano.